why we have the community. So just put it out there.
Obviously, that's why I'm here.
Yeah, I agree absolutely. So because that will definitely help you a lot. Because what happens is you can go for the week, right? So maybe you have two topics to read for the week. Maybe it's DNS and DHCP. So you go off whether it's you want to watch CBT Nugget, Plural Sites, IT Pro TV, Microsoft Virtual Academy, doesn't matter, or you have a textbook that you want to follow. Take that textbook, take that video, go watch it throughout the week. So you know this week I'm only focusing on DHCP and DNS. So go read everything you can read and then come together at the end of the week to discuss it and say, okay, I've gone through DHCP and DNS. This is why I understand. Then you learn from one another. Then you go off and say, okay, next week we're going to be reading Active Directory and group policy. Then you go off
Yeah,
again.
totally.
Yeah. So I mean,
This is
put it
how
up.
I was studying earlier, but unfortunately, I could not allocate that much amount of time for it.
Hmm.
So the things didn't go right the way
Yeah.
they were supposed to.
Hmm. Yeah, I get. I
So that's
understand.
why I'm quite lacking right now.
Yeah. I completely understand. So like I said, like put it out in the group. Um, Someone else will join. Like I know very soon, because Server 2016 will be coming out soon. The plan that I have, I'm not sure what other people, because other people in the group also have plans, different plans and stuff. But the plan that I have is that once Microsoft releases Server 2016 and they release the new certification for MCSA, MCSE, I will start again from scratch, from the very first certification, and we'll go through it all the way to the end, like we did before.
That's
So,
the way.
yeah. Okay, no problems, man. Abdul, how you doing? How's your week been? It's been okay.
Hmm. I feel regretful right now, but I hope I could do better
No, it's all right.
in the coming.
Yeah, the fact that you're even attempting to, that's a starting point. And then you can go from
Right,
there.
right now, I'm working on Office 365 Pro Plus deployment in my organization.
Yeah, that's an awesome one. Yeah. And how's that going? Are you enjoying it?
Yeah, definitely, I'm enjoying. First of all, there was some kind of issues related to activation
Mm-hmm.
of Office 365 Pro Plus,
Yep.
but later on we cope up with them, and now it's going smoothly.
Mm-hmm. Nice. That's
Uh,
actually, yep.
there are no more issues in our environment right now.
Nice. Nice. Office 365 is another good one. So that's the other thing. Like, for example, what you could do. So it's not like, I mean, the whole point of this group, I know not many people have been involved to that level that I've been involved. Because one of the things you could do is you're learning Office 365, for example, right? Let's say you're learning Office 365.
Yeah.
What you could do is you could get other people along and say, I'm learning Office 365. I'm using this video or this book. I'll be doing two
Mhm.
chapters a week or one chapter a week, and I'll be doing Hangout to teach or pass across what I've learned, and then we can discuss together. And I'm sure people will join. So I encourage. So there's another group that I hold with Cisco stuff. So I encourage someone else to start doing that, and it was doing that, and it got a lot of response, and lots of people are joining the Hangout, and basically to discuss together their CCNA and stuff. So yeah, nice one.
Yeah, it would be a really fascinating thing.
Yep.
Everyone could each other, and the community rises up.
Yeah, it is. Okay, nice, man. Welcome,
Louis
guys.
has came back.
I'm sorry?
Louis has came back.
Yeah, welcome back, Louis.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, it's alright. How was your week?
So far, so good. I don't even remember what I did, but I know it's good. It was good.
That's
How about yours?
interesting. Uh-oh. Is that what it does to people now, Louis? I have no clue what I've done this week, but we'll be alright. That's nice. And where are you in your certification, Louis? How are you doing with it?
Oh, well, like what I mentioned last week,
Hmm.
I'm not working on any certification as far
Oh,
as
yeah.
Windows
Yep.
administration is concerned.
Yep.
What I'll be doing is go straight to Azure.
Yeah, I think you
Um,
mentioned that. Yeah.
but I don't know. I'll still, I mean, do it one day at a time and see how it goes. If I'm ready, then I'm ready. If not, then it'll wait.
Yeah.
Um,
So I mean,
and
why I agree with that line of I'll see how it goes, and I'll tell you one thing that has worked for me in the past. I'm not saying that this doesn't work for everybody because everybody is different. But one of the things that's worked for me in the past is to commit myself. I've been doing a lot of Azure studies this week on 7533 and 7534. And not this week for like a while now. I've been doing a lot of Azure studies. And one of the things that I'm looking to do, or one of the things that I'll be doing is I'll be booking the exam. So it doesn't matter. I will be booking the exam for one of them for end of May. So as long as I commit myself to that and I just pick it up and just go for it that way. Hello, Pastor Shagun, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm great.
Yeah. So we have Syed online, we have Syed, Louis, and Abdul online. Also,
Okay.
yeah. So today we're just talking about Microsoft Azure. We're just picking up from where we stopped last week. And we'll do a bit of revision here. So we have two people here from last week. So if you remember what we talked about last week, we talked about the whole concept of the cloud or the public cloud. And um, and I'll just ask Louis, because you weren't here last week. So what's your own understanding of public cloud? When you talk about public cloud infrastructure, what's your understanding of it? You may need to unmute yourself.
sorry about
Yeah,
that. Public cloud.
yeah.
Well, public cloud is what's available out there. So I would assume that's, I mean, like AWS, Azure. I
Yep,
mean, those
absolutely.
are public
Abs
clouds,
absolutely accurate. Absolutely accurate. So,
providers of services.
yep,
Like,
absolutely. Different cloud providers. You have Microsoft, you have Amazon, you have all these different cloud providers. So, a recap of what we talked about last week. We talked about what exactly cloud computing is. One of the things that we mentioned is that cloud computing, it's not necessarily an invention, it's more of an evolution. And we explained what that meant. That in the past, in the whole IT history, the history of IT, we have on-site systems and on-site networks. And then later, we moved to start having data centers where we have this dedicated place where we put all our servers in and all that stuff, and we connect our networks. Then eventually, IT evolved to data center managed services where people will come to the business and say, hey, we can host the data center for you. You don't need to worry to pay for the power and the cooling. We'll just bill you according to the amount of space that you're renting in our data center. So you go to a managed service data center provider and say, hey, can I rent a rack of servers? And they'll ask you, what type of servers do you want? Which type of Cisco routers or firewalls do you want? We'll install all that for you and we'll charge you for the rent. We'll provide the cooling, we'll provide the power, you just pay us the rent for the space. Okay. Then eventually virtualization came and that changed everything in IT, where you can have this single box, but within that single box, you can have multiple virtual servers. So basically, servers as software. And what that provides is quick provisioning. You can, before it used to take days and weeks to provision a single physical server. Now you have this powerful physical server, and someone needs a virtual server. Within minutes, you have the virtual server ready. So it has this quick provisioning and all these different advantages of high availability, where you can move a server that's in production and that's working. You can move it away from a physical server, move it to another physical server, and the users won't notice anything. And you get all these different advantages that comes with virtualization, where you can pull different resources together and share them, and then provide like a lot more advantages. So you get that with like virtualization. So after virtualization now moved to data center managed services. So the people that usually previously just rent out space, what they now started doing was saying, okay, rather than we just renting you out this space, what we'll do is we have these powerful servers in our data center. And what we'll do is you come to us and say, I want to provision this server. We provision it and share it amongst many other people. And so they brought virtualization into data center managed services. And then eventually that evolved to what we call cloud computing today. And what we talked about is if you keep digging, into what we call Microsoft Azure, which is what we're talking about today. You keep digging and digging and digging into what we call Microsoft Azure. Eventually, you get to services that are running in massive data centers around the world. So we talked about that eventually you take whatever you called Microsoft Azure or whatever you call Microsoft Azure, you keep peeling out the layer of the Microsoft Azure portal. For example, I've got my Microsoft Azure portal enabled here or open here. So where I could go new and I could go create a new web app. So I have this portal here where I can create all these different services. I can create a virtual machine, a mobile app, a cloud service, a web app. I can create a SQL database directly. Eventually, if I peel all this back, I'll get to a massive data center somewhere in the world with servers and racks and routers and switches and firewalls where all these things are stored. But what they've now done is they've abstracted me from that and presented it in a friendly web interface. Or I can use PowerShell to like access stuff like this. So that's basically what we'll get to. Eventually, you peel back Microsoft Azure, it's all data centers at the end of it. And one of the important things that we mentioned last week is we talked about the concept of geos, regions, and data centers. So quick test for you, Abdul. What are geos? We were here last week when we discussed this. So what are geos? You may need to unmute yourself. I think Louis was. Ah, okay. Okay, no problems. What about Louis? You were here last week also. Oh, okay, no problems, Abdul. So you can type it, Abdul, still. So Louis, what are geos?
Geography,
Well,
geographic
you were here last
location.
week, right? You were in the
Yeah,
Hangout last week, yeah. Remember when we talked about, I mean, we spent a lot of time talking about geos, data center regions, and data centers.
right. Yeah. Is it like geographic
Yeah,
location?
yeah, you're right. So what is inside that geographic location? What is inside that?
Uh, First, it's based on what you mentioned, geos, then regions. So inside a geo, there are regions,
Exactly, excellent.
and in
So,
regions,
yeah,
under regions, there are data centers.
excellent. So we have geographic location or geos, which are one or more regions. And then we talked about regions, which are one or more data centers, and then we have the data centers themselves. So we talked about, for example, Microsoft could have a geo, for example, let's go bring up our website again and just go um, Azure geos. Actually, let's just bring this here. And we talked about Azure geos, and we talked about this a lot last week. That here you go. You keep peeling down. You have yeah, where it says Azure is generally available in 22 regions around the world and has announced plan for 8 additional regions. Um, there's a place where they actually mentioned okay, yeah, here we go, this one. So they said Azure is generally available in 22 regions and 9 geos. So currently there are 9 geos and there are 22 regions. And you have the geos here, for example, you have the United States. The United States is made up of all these regions, all these Azure regions. And you have the Europe, which is made up of these two regions, and they keep expanding because if you go down, you'll find regions that they will be announcing very soon. maybe down here. Yeah, here we go. Newly announced Azure geographies and regions. For example, you have regions that are dedicated to the U.S. Department of Defense, which no one else can use except you work in the U.S. Department of Defense. There are some other regions that are just dedicated to government. For example, only the U.S. government uses this. U.S. government, Hawaii, U.S. government, Virginia, and these are not used by the public, so to speak. So you have these geos and then you have these regions. And what we mentioned something and said, what's the importance of knowing about all these geos, regions, and data centers? What's the main advantage of understanding this? If you remember, Louis. Yeah, because Abdul has escaped today because he doesn't have a mic, so I have to pick on you. Sorry.
It's cost. So
Excellent,
let's
excellent.
so basically it's cost.
Cost. And what do you mean by the cost? What does it mean by my understanding of geos and regions and data center? Will it save
So
me something? Carry on.
so let's say for example, this is like strategic location of like let's say your data, you're accessing data on your website.
Yep,
I remember
yep,
that's the example that you gave.
yep,
Website resides on this, let's say, region one,
yep,
and data resides in region two.
yep,
So that's two separate costs,
yeah.
I guess,
Excellent.
but you can expand to that.
Excellent. That's absolutely excellent. So that's like one of the things that we should, that's one of the reasons why it's important for us to know about geos, regions, and data centers. Because you go on Azure's website, like we showed last week, and you find out that you could get in trouble really quickly if you don't understand this. And what we showed last week was, for example, um, region charges. And what you find out is the things that you're actually charged for on Microsoft Azure. If you're not careful, you could get into trouble. Where you have this information, for example, is data transfer between Azure services located within the same region charged? So, like what Louis mentioned, you have your website in which region? Let's pick a region. You have your website in the central US region. You have your SQL database in the East US region. Oh, sorry, you have both your website and SQL database in the central US region. Is that charged between the same region? And the answer is no. Is data transfer between Azure services located in two regions charged? So you have your website in central US, but when you created your SQL database, you created it in East US. And look at the answer, yes. Outbound data transfer is charged at the normal rate. And what that means is basically you're charged twice because data is coming from your website and going into Azure. But at the same time, when users are requesting for data from your website, data is coming out from the SQL database and going to the website. So as data is coming out from your website region, you're getting charged. As it's coming out from your SQL region, you're getting charged. So if you are concerned about cost, provision your Azure services in the same region. Now, there are obviously other benefits to that because you can get performance benefits. Because if you have your database all across the world and you have your website all across the world, there could be some performance cost to that. So if you have them in the same region, you could potentially get better performance than if you have them scattered around the world. So this is just like still a recap of some of the things that we talked about last week. One of the other things that we talked about last week, yeah, we already talked about the fact that eventually Azure is just distributed data centers around the world. And the other thing we talked about, if I cancel all this, is we talked about um, difference between Azure, Office 365, and Intune. So, Louis, sorry, I got to pick on you again. So Abdul says something. Abdul says, Um, does that mean in region equals LAN, between region equals one? Not necessarily, Abdul, because for example, if you look at some regions, again, remember that we have and um, geos, regions, and data centers. Now, a region could be one or more data center, and the data centers in a region could be miles apart. For example, look at the Europe region here. So let's go for this one and let's look in the Europe region and let's see what data centers are in the Europe region. Um, so Azure region, so if we go North Europe, Island, West Europe, so let's go look for where Azure data centers are located. So okay, here's the region, here's the data center location. So for example, in the Japan East region, there's a data center in Tokyo, there's a data center in Saitama. Oh, sorry, I'm not sure if these are like one, but I guess. So I guess they are separate because Tokyo is not in Saitama. So there's a data center in Tokyo, there's a data center in Saitama. Now these two could be miles apart. I have no idea. So again, remember a region is one or more data centers. So it could just be one data center. It could be more than one data centers. So when it's more than one data center, it's obviously going over the one. So in this case, you won't be charged if your data center, if your website is in Tokyo and your SQL is in Saitama because you're still in the same region. But once you start moving out of the same region, then you start getting charged. So it's not necessarily that equals LAN. So it could be equals LAN or one. Okay. Now, for example, I'll probably assume that these ones, both of these, will probably be in the same region, even though they will have, okay, this is a separate region. Okay, so they are separate regions. But who knows? In the future, you could find out that China East has more than one data center, and it's not only Shanghai. There's other data centers, and other different regions have more than one data centers. So just be aware of that. Okay. So then we talked about Azure, Intune, Office 365. So Louis, I have to pick on you again because Abdul escaped today. So, so Louis, I walk up to you. You are the IT professional. Someone, your manager walks up to you. I've been hearing about these things called Azure, Office 365, Intune. Are they not all the same thing? What's your response? How do you break it down, make it simple for your manager to understand?
Um, so, based on experience,
Yep.
Azure is a platform.
Azure,
Is
it's a
where
platform.
right is I mean it's it
I,
is where service resides. It is where platform resides. I mean platform in a sense of like oh jeez, you put me on the spot. Let's use
Because
the
I have a
Office
lot of question
365.
marks here, you're thinking, oh. No, I understand what you mean, but the term platform could confuse someone where somebody's thinking, are you talking about platform as a service or what are you talking about? So
Well,
I understand what you mean by
well,
the platform.
let's keep it simple. Azure is like a plate. So on a plate, there's service, there's platform, and there's other service or other. I don't remember what we talked about. But one thing for
Infrastructure.
sure,
Yes,
as far
yeah. So
Office
you're actually on
365.
the right
Infrastructure.
direction. You're actually on the right direction, Louis. So Azure like
Yeah.
a plate, it has lots of services.
Mm-hmm.
You're absolutely right. So Azure like plate has lots of services, and some of the services that it has is it has infrastructure as a service, right?
Mm-hmm.
It has software as a service in Azure and their platform as a service in Azure. And what about Office 365? What would that be? What would you say?
Office 365 is also a service for Office like um, like the cloud, like Office products like Word, Excel that you can access directly to the cloud.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to add anything to that, Syed? Because we've been working with Office 365.
We just use it, but I'm not working with.
Actually,
Yeah, carry on.
are you talking to me, David?
Yes, yeah, because you've been working with Office 365, so I want to share some knowledge.
Yeah, actually, Office 365 is basically a software as a service
Yeah,
that's part of Microsoft Cloud Services.
excellent.
Okay,
Yeah.
so what it offers is basically Office Pro Plus suite, and there are other things like Skype for Business Online and Exchange Online,
Yeah.
SharePoint Online,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a hybrid mode as well that you can integrate your on-premises environment
Mm-hmm.
with the cloud. cloud integration.
Excellent. Excellent. And that's
So this
absolutely,
is
yeah,
what basically Office 365 is offering.
yeah. And you're absolutely, both of you, you're absolutely right. So Office 365, it's a simple collection of services. So all the
Yeah, definitely.
services that are located under Office 365, all of them are software as a service or
As a
software as a
service.
service. So whether it's for Office products that you're accessing online, or whether it's for Exchange Online, SharePoint Online, Skype for Unified Comms, Skype for Business, or OneDrive for Business also. Um, or am I wrong? Is OneDrive for Business not part of?
Yeah,
Yeah,
OneDrive for
OneDrive for
Business is
Business.
offering 1 TB space.
Yeah. Excellent. So OneDrive for Business. So all these ones, they are all. So Office 365 is a collection of software as a service services. So it's a collection of software as a
Exactly.
service services. Azure, it's also a collection of services.
Basically, Azure is providing the platform
Mm,
where you can reside, where all the services that you want would reside over there.
yeah,
Am I right?
yeah. So what? So the reason why the word platform is because it could be of confusion of. Are you talking about platform as a service? Because Azure does more than platform as a service. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of like a
Actually,
yeah.
what
So you
actually
probably are
according to
right
my
with the word
understanding,
platform. I probably prefer more the word collection, just to avoid the confusion of thinking it's a platform as a service offering. So it's more than just
can
like,
you please clear out what's the difference between the platform as a service and infrastructure as a service? Because what I have understood by now
yeah,
is basically in infrastructure as a service,
mm-hmm,
Azure is offering some sort of hardware infrastructure
yeah,
that you can purchase and you can reside your application or any software that you want to get access
yeah,
via cloud services.
yeah,
And what I understand by platform as a service is basically it's somewhat I don't know what
yeah.
a platform is actually
Louis, do
right
you
now.
want to help Syed? You were here last week, so guide Syed to understand what's the
I'm
difference
kind of
between
confused.
infrastructure as a service and platform as a service.
Platform. Well, let me just Google that for you.
While you're googling it, let me try to help. So here's a quick. Um, Abdul says SQL equals to platform as a service.
Okay, if we
Abdul said SQL equals to platform as a service. Yeah, you're right to an extent. Let me try to break it down to make it as simple as possible. Let's use an example. Sahed, you need to build a website, right?
okay,
Sahed, as this project, you have to build a website. Now you go to Microsoft and you say, Microsoft, I need to build a website. What options do I have? Microsoft tells you, Abdul, you have the option of, you can go for the option of infrastructure as a service, or you can go for the option of platform as a service. You're like, Microsoft, you just confused me. I have no idea what these things you're talking about. I have no idea what they mean. So here's what it means. Microsoft says, we have this huge data center in Hong Kong. We have this huge data center, and inside these data centers, we have these huge servers that huge servers that are running in them. What you can do is you can come to us and say, okay, what do you need for a website? You need your web application, right?
yeah,
And your web application will be hosted on a web server, right? Yep, the web application will
definitely.
be hosted on a web server. And you need your SQL database, right? Or your
Mm-hmm.
database, not necessarily SQL, just your database that will be storing your data.
Whatever that is. Mm-hmm.
So what Microsoft says to you is that, Syed, what you can do is you can come to us and say, hello, Microsoft, to build this website that I need to build, I need a web server to host my web application, and I need a database to store my data. So can you please give me two 2012 R2 servers? Okay, say to Microsoft, I need two 2012 R2 servers. Yep, I need 2012 R2 servers. I need them to be fully patched. And on this one, I want IIS installed. On this one, I want SQL installed. And Microsoft says, yeah, sure, Abdul. Yeah, here's the price it's going to cost you for what you've requested for. And you say, okay, for the IIS server, I want it to be 8 gig of RAM, and I want it to be whatever CPU and storage you want, 40 gig HDD, and I want CPU of, yeah, dual core Intel i7 2.4 gigahertz, whatever. You tell them all the specifications of stuff that you want. Microsoft says, sure, we can provision you for, easily. So you go on your Azure management portal, right? So I go here on my Azure management portal. Where is it? Here we go. And I go again, new. I go virtual machine. I can go from gallery where I can select an existing image. So I can say, oh, I want this 2012 out to data center, or even if I want, I can scroll down and see some even more customized ones. That this one, for example, this is a 2012 out to server, but it already has SQL installed. So I can use this for my SQL database, and I can select it, and Microsoft says, tell me the specification of what you want. How powerful do you want it to be? You want 4 cores, 7 gig RAM? Tell me as much as you want, I can give to you. So you specify whatever you want. So that's one way that you can provision your website. And then after these servers are built, you control these servers. So basically, you determine when Windows updates are installed on them. You determine when they are restarted. You determine you have to keep patching them, right? So Microsoft releases Windows updates, you have to keep it patched. Those are the kind of stuff you have to do. Or Microsoft says the other option you have is platform as a service. And what that means is you don't need to worry yourself about building any VMs. What you need to do is come to us and say, I just need a web server of this specification, and I need a database server, or I need a database of this specification. And Microsoft says to you, sure, what we'll do is we'll provision this web server in the backend. So what will happen is in the backend, there's actually a server in the backend. There's actually a database server also, a server in the backend. But what they will do is you won't be the one even looking after these ones at all. What they will do is they will abstract you from this one. And instead, what you will get is a fancy web interface where this one hosts your website and this one hosts your SQL database. But it's not a server. All you are seeing is a web interface. So the server that it's running on in the backend doesn't matter to you, doesn't concern you at all. All that one is taken care of by Microsoft. Because the server that it's running on in the backend, Microsoft handles the patching. They can swap it out without telling you. If the new update is released, they can provision new images, swap out the image of this one, put your website on the new one, and destroy this existing one. You get the point. So to show you a short demonstration of that is if I go here. So this is one way that you can create your web server, you can create your SQL database server and install SQL on it for your website. Another way is I can just go create new data services, create new quick create website database, create new database. And I can say, oh, I want a new SQL database server created in not Europe. Login name is admin. Password is okay. Doesn't like admin. Admin 123. Password is create SQL database. And now look at that. I'm not creating a web. I'm not creating a server, right? I'm not creating a server at all.
Yeah.
And if I go down here, if I go on the, let's go on the SQL databases here, I have just a web portal here. I can see the size here. I can see the edition here. I can change the edition if I want. So in other words, edition is like kind of like the, you can see, so performance level. I can say, oh, I want S1 where it has 20 DTUs. I can change, you know, the specs as I want, but I'm not managing the server. I don't care about the server. All I care about is I want this application. And what I can do with this is I can take SQL Management Studio and connect it directly to this database and be able to configure the database as I want. But I'm not dealing with any server, I'm just dealing with the application. So this is platform as a service. The advantage of using platform as a service is I don't have to maintain servers. I don't have to care about patching servers. I don't have to care about installing applications on servers and monitoring servers and stuff like that. I only care about the application. But it's different from software as a service because now I'm hosting a
Excellent.
database. Yeah, I'm hosting it because software as a data as a service is even more abstracted because I'm not even hosting like this. I'm not even looking at it at even database level. I'm only pure application level. But here I can still
Hmm.
configure the scale of whatever I'm dealing with. I can still configure the scale. If I want to, I can connect to this using SQL Management Studios. It's going to give me the certificate and the address that I'm going to use to connect to this database, and I can start working with it, and we'll show that. So this is platform as a service, and I can the same way I just create this database. I can go create new compute and just create new web app, and I can create myself a website without having to deal with the server. And all that I will get is a web portal to do my management. I'm not logging into a server to do the management. All I'm getting is a web portal. Is that clear?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. It's actually in platform as a service,
Yeah.
we are managing only the application, and in infrastructure as a service, we have to manage the hardware as well as
Exactly.
the software and our applications.
Yeah. Exactly. So now you want complete control. But here's what happens in the with application service. Now you have complete control of the server, right? So you can determine which patch level you want and all that kind of stuff. But in terms of cost, it actually costs you more to go for infrastructure as a service than platform as a service. Because for platform as a service,
Hmm.
you're paying for this service, right? For infrastructure as a service, number one, I'm paying for the compute that I'm using, right? Because now I'm using compute, right? My CPU and memory, I'm paying for the compute, I'm paying for the data, I'm paying for the network. But this one, I'm only paying for the
Hmm.
service. So it's actually much more
Okay, got
expensive
it.
for me to build that website, um, install IIS on it, host my website, build that server again, install SQL on it, and host my database and manage it completely. It will actually cost me more than for me to just come and create some services. But then there are some situations where I'm like, oh, I don't want Microsoft to be the one handling the backend server. They're probably sharing the server across many other people, with many other people. I want Microsoft to be the one handling like the backend one there. I especially maybe you're concerned about patch levels and stuff like that. I want to be the one that have complete control over the entire environment. Then you can decide to go for IaaS, which is infrastructure as a service. So what led us here? What led us here? What we were talking about difference between Azure, which is a collection of services. So there's infrastructure as a service, there's platform as a service, there's software as a service, services all within Azure. So there's lots of services within Azure. This one is the most popular that most people know about. I'm creating and building my VMs, but there's other services. If you look at this, for example, again, we bring up the Azure and we go new here. When you go um, SQL database, we can just create some storage. No problems ahead. We can just go HD Insight, which is kind of like big data, like Hadoop cluster. We can create recovery services, a backup vault. This one interesting. So what this means is I can go create a backup vault and click quick create, select the region where I want to create this, right? And what that will now do is it will give me an agent. When I create this backup vault, it will give me an agent that I can install on my servers and point them to this Azure service. And all my servers will be backing themselves up to this one. So for example, let's just quickly create test one. Let's create one in North Europe. Let's call it test backup and create vault. And I'll see it under recovery services here, and it's creating that. So you see this one. So there, and that's active now. Okay. I click into it and look at what it says. Install Microsoft Azure Backup Agent and register your server. So I can download the Microsoft Azure Backup Agent on my server, which is like the client, sort of like the same way you have to install the Commvault or the semantic agent on your server if you're going to be doing backup. So you can install it. But in this case, you're not going to be talking or doing the backup to like an on-prem server somewhere. They'll be doing the backup directly to this Azure service. So there's lots of services under Azure beyond, and this is not, this one, I'm not dealing with the server directly. All I'll do is, for example, if I download the agent and install on this my machine, I can even do a test, but I don't want to do a test with this machine, and install on the machine, I'll see all my machines that I've registered in here. And I can do restores, I can see what their backup status is. From a web portal, I don't have to deal with a server somewhere in the backend. I'm just dealing with this directly. This is another Azure service. So Azure is much more than infrastructure as a service. There's lots and lots of services in Azure. Platform as a service services, software as a service services, infrastructure as a service services. And there are multiple ways for you to do the same thing, like the one that we talked about, the website. There are multiple ways for you to build a website on Azure, because you can go the infrastructure as a service route, you can go the platform as a service route. Actually, let me show you some of the notes I was taking this week when I was revising for Azure. And let me show you one of my notes. Yeah, let me show you this one. You can see the screen, right? If you look at it, can you see the screen?
Are you asking me or
Yeah,
everyone?
everyone. Can you see my screen? Is this clear, or do I
I
have
can
to
see.
expand it?
Yes, you can see it.
Now you can see it. Okay, so look at this. This is talking about database or data storage on Azure, right? Now look at this. For platform as a service, I have Azure SQL database. I can create that service. I have my SQL database. I can create that as a service. So that's platform as a service. Platform as a service, I can create storage tables. Platform as a service, Redis cache. Platform as a service, just blob storage. I can store any type of file. Platform as a service also, just file services. Platform as a service. So look at that. I can create file services, platform as a service, where I can set permissions and stuff like that. Or I can build a VM, install Microsoft File Services on the VM, and then share it out. So I can achieve the same thing through different methods on Azure, because it has lots of different services, and you basically have to be smart about this and figure out which one is more suitable for my environment. Will if I just create Azure File Services, would that be sufficient for me? Or do I need to build a VM, install Microsoft File Services on it, and then share it out to my users? Can I just get away with using Azure File Services? Abdul says expand, please. Let me try to. I'm looking for the Zoom tool, but I can't see Zoom. So maybe I'll just select this and just go make this maybe like 16. Yeah, here we go. So for example, you can see. So you're saying I need a database on Azure. Well, you can install a VM and install any kind of database that you want on it. Or you can have platform as a service Azure SQL database. Or you can have platform as a service MySQL database. You can have platform as a service storage tables or Redis cache. Oh, I need storage. Okay, no problems. You can build a VM, add a virtual hard disk to it, and provision it as your storage. Or you can have platform as a service storage blobs or platform as a service file services. So you start to see where all the confusion starts to fall down, because many people are like, okay, I want to create a website. What do I do? Understand that there are different ways for you to achieve the same thing with Azure. It's just a collection of services. So you have to figure out which of the services you want to use. Is that clear? Any questions with what we've discussed? We're still revising what we talked about last week, but any questions so far? Any questions, Syed, Louis, Abdul?
Not from my side.
Yeah. What about Louis? Any questions? Abdul? Oh, good. Yeah, and that's basically what Azure Office 365 and Intune. Okay, what about Intune, Sahed? What is, how would you say Intune is?
Intune is basically mobile device management solution provided by Microsoft as per I know.
Excellent.
And it can be integrated with System Center Configuration Manager,
Yep,
and we can control remote device wipe and encryption and such things.
excellent. Um, yeah, that's really excellent. So will you classify this under what will you classify Intune under? Is it software as a service or what?
It's basically software as a service,
Excellent. Yeah.
as
Yeah.
I think.
So here's one thing to note is that we said Azure is a collection of service, right? Or collection of
Yeah.
services. So some of the services are infrastructure as a service, some of them are platform as a service, some of them are software as a service. Office 365 is a collection of software as a service services. Intune is a single software as a service. So it's not like a collection of software as a service service. It's a single software as a service service. This one is a collection of different software as a service service. This one is a collection of IaaS, PaaS, SaaS services. This one is just a single service in terms of Intune. So what we promised, or what I promised Abdul last week, that we're going to talk about this week, and this is a recap of last week, is let's talk about Azure subscriptions. Let's talk about Azure AD. That part is confusing for many people. And here will be my first disclaimer before we start anything at all. We're talking about Azure Active Directory and Azure subscriptions. Here's my first disclaimer. My first disclaimer that you should know is that let me put me, I won't say will, because we have different levels of understanding and stuff. You may not understand all this the first time. So just be aware of that. And don't be scared if you don't. So you may not understand all the things that we'll be discussing the first time you hear them. Because many of them myself, I hear them and I hear them again and again and again. And then eventually it's going to be like, aha, that's what you're talking about. So you may not get it the first time. So don't be ashamed or afraid if you're like, I heard all these things, but I still don't get it. That's okay. Because one of the things you find out in learning is sometimes you have to hear something multiple times, and sometimes you have to hear them from different people. So different people explaining it differently. So if I explain something differently, Abdul explains something differently, Syed explains something differently, you explain something differently, and then you're like, actually, I'm beginning to see it now. So sometimes you may need to go watch another video, read another book, read something else, then it becomes clearer to you. So you won't get it, or you may not get it the first time. And also, it may seem like a lot of information because we are going to be talking about a lot of information here because some of the things that we talk about, so just be aware of those two disclaimers. So you may not understand everything at once, but don't be afraid. um because we talked about Azure services, we talked about Office 365 services and Intune service, but one of the underlying things that ties all of them together is this strange thing that people call Azure Active Directory. We'll talk about like this thing called Azure Active Directory. What exactly is going on? Here's where we'll start. We'll start with you an organization. You want to create your Azure subscription. So you've decided, okay, we're going to start using Azure for some of our services in production and to see how that works. So first information to note is that number one is that there is a separate website or separate URL for organization subscriptions that is different from user subscriptions. That's the first thing you have to note. Is because if I bring up this one, let me see if I've got something already. If I have Outlook already set up, I need to log out from Outlook first of all. So let me see if I have Outlook. Yep, go Outlook. I have to log out. Okay, we're out of Outlook now. Let me go to Azure trial. Many people are like, yeah, I want to begin to set up Azure and begin to try it. If you're going to be trying it, so what I want to bring out here is that if you're going to be trying it as an individual, um, or if your organization are going to be trying it and you don't want to have problems later, you have to go to a different URL. So most people will just go, yeah, I just want to set up an Azure, and I just go try it now. Most people will just go, okay, it says sign into Azure. Hold on, it's asking me for a Microsoft account. I'll just create a Microsoft account and I'll sign in with that Microsoft account. Now, if you're doing an organization proof of concept, don't use this method because the very first account that you use to create your Azure account will remain the global administrator forever. So if you're going to be using a Microsoft account, that means it's going to remain in your organization forever. So be careful about this. I'm sure that maybe you could talk to Microsoft and Microsoft can sort something out for you in the back end or do something for you in the back end, but just be aware that if you use that. So you say, if I'm an organization, I want to do a POC, what do I do? This website is what you have to go to. This one. account.windowsazure.com/organization. That's the one you go to. Because if you go for this one, where you're signing up for this trial here, you have to start with a Microsoft account, and that becomes a global administrator. So to try to explain what that means, I hope I won't confuse you with this. So again,
So you mean that
carry on.
the global administrator account cannot be reassigned to someone else?
No. So you can create,
Oh,
yeah. So the first account you create is the administrator, it remains there. So
so in
account,
that case, we would become the global administrator of that organization for the POC purposes.
yes. So that's why if you're doing that of an organization, you have a separate URL than if you're doing for a personal user. So actually, there's another link. I think I posted it last week that has very wonderful write-up of this. Yeah, this one. So let's go to this URL and let's see this wonderful information written by this guy. It's written like a really wonderful write-up on this course, and I'll try to expand this out. So it says, how do I create a new organizational account on Windows Azure without any existing account or EA? Microsoft account is for personal use. Windows Azure Active Directory organization account for organization. So, and then it began to talk about some of the things that I've mentioned. Create organization account from scratch. To create an organizational account without already being logged into the portal took some searching around and trying a few things. But turns out that one accomplished this by starting this one. So then he explains what the flow looks like. Because with this one now, what happens is if I go to this website, what will happen is I'm on this website now. Let's see what it's asking me to do. So on this organization website, it says put in your first name. So let's say I have this is the person that manages software licensing in my business or whatever, whoever is responsible for this, Azure admin for my organization. Contact email address, David at davidcompany.com. And my company name, David Company. And you can see instantly here, it's beginning to create something called a domain name, right? So this is if I'm going to this website. So if I'm going to this website, all I need to do is um, enter the organization admin name, right? Enter the organization um, organization admin corporate email address, right? And then this one is important. An Azure AD directory will automatically be created with the company's name. So that one is important. That is if I come via this URL. But here is what happens. If I go via the normal URL, the first thing that you see that is going to request from me is it's going to say, hey, enter a Microsoft account, right? Which is what I saw, right? When I went to the website. And he told me, he said, hey, enter your Microsoft account or sign in with your Microsoft account. So what that means is I have to create a Microsoft account if I don't have one. I enter my Microsoft account, I sign in, then I set up Azure trial. But here's the thing that will happen. So this one we said an Azure Azure AD directory will automatically be created with the company's name. So this one, an Azure Active Directory name will automatically be created with the Microsoft account name. So that's one thing again that you need to be careful about because you create this one. So I can show you an illustration of that on my own Azure trial. So if I go under Azure Active Directory down here, for example, and I click on this one, and look at that, Adatum 2903, this one, dot on Microsoft.com. You know the reason why it's done this? Because my email address, if I go to outlook.com, so I can even bring it up and share what the email address I used to create this, what it is. So yeah, so look at my email address. That's my email address. This one. This one. And what it's going to do is going to take your email address, and from your email address, it will formulate a unique Azure AD domain name. So that's one thing. That's the reason why if you're doing as an organization, go through this one. Don't go through the normal one. If you're just doing for a normal, if you're planning to do an organizational one, and then eventually you want to move it after you've tested it to production, go through this method. If you're just doing a normal user one, use this method because then you just use your Microsoft account, and then your Microsoft account will be forever will be linked to this Azure AD account. So that's one thing to note. So any questions with that at all? Any question,
No,
anyone?
you
Glenn?
explained very well.
Yeah, wow, nice. Okay. So yeah, so that's one thing to note. Okay, so then what's the whole point of we talk about this thing of when you enter your organization name. So let me show you what the email will look like. So you enter your organization name, you enter the corporate email address. So that's your current corporate email address of the Azure admin. You enter the corporate email address. It's going to automatically create an Azure Active Directory with the name that you've entered, and it's going to now send an email to that corporate email address. In this case, at the end of it, it will just send an email to your Microsoft address. And that Microsoft address is linked now to that Azure Active Directory. So you want important information about this is what is going on with your account. You know what you have to do? You have to go log into your Microsoft account, like I have to do, to see what information is going on regarding my Azure subscription. I'm not sure if that's clear because now that Microsoft account is linked to it. So it's going to be sending you information about your Azure account to your Microsoft account. So if it's for an organization, I'm sure you don't want to be receiving emails that are corporate sensitive or of corporate importance. You don't want to be receiving that in a Microsoft email. You want that to be going to your corporate email. But also, if you use this corporate email is automatically linked to that Azure Active Directory. Sorry, to that Azure account. So my recommendation, although I've not read anything about it, I probably should read about it before I give a recommendation. But my own initial recommendation would be, or my own thought, don't let me put it as a recommendation. My own thought is that I'll use an account that is generic, not somebody's account. Because if that person's account leaves, emails about our Azure account will still be sent to that email address. So I'd rather use a generic account rather than a specific user account. Because if that user leaves, then we have to take control of that user's email and keep checking that email. But if you use a generic account, so like for most companies, what they will do is they'll have something like maybe a distribution list set up that has the name of many admins added to that. Or what most people would do is that many organizations already have enterprise agreements with Microsoft, already have something like this already set up, where they have a distribution list with their domain name that has many admins under that, and they just link that to their Azure account. So that's one thing that you should pick. So those are the things that you should consider if you don't want to start having issues where you have to be checking a Microsoft account in the future, or where you have to start taking control of somebody's account after they leave to be able to be getting updates about what's going on with your Azure environment. I'll probably use a distribution list rather than just a specific account name. Okay, let's make a little bit of progress because we're almost running out of time. So what's the thing about this Azure AD stuff? Here's the thing is that now that's like the Azure service subscription process. There's a similar process if you want to set up Office 365 subscription. And there's a similar process if you want to set up an Intune subscription. The reason why they matter is because you're talking about the same cloud provider here. So you're not talking about different cloud providers. You're talking about the same cloud provider that has provided these different services. And of course, there's an integration between Office 365 and Azure services and Intune subscription. There's an integration between them. So here's the thing you have to watch out for. If you already have an Office 365 subscription, or okay, let's put it this way. I want to go create an Office 365 subscription. Let me bring up I think I've not logged into anything. Let's go Office 365 trial. Because this will help us to understand a bit of what, when we're talking about Azure Active Directory, this will help us to understand a bit. Oh, okay, Office 365, try Office 365 for free. Why not? For sure. I click on that, try 1 month free. Now again, look at this. It brought me to this Microsoft account page. So we have to be careful with like all the situation. So let me say, okay, I want to sign up here. Sign up for a Microsoft account. Microsoft account is, let me create one. Let's call it David 111111. Let's give 7 ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Did I click sign in or sign up? I want sign up. David 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 at outlook.com. Create a password. Someone else already has that. Okay. 1111, 7 ones and 1 2. Someone else still has it. Okay, here we go. 7 ones and 1 2. I hope I remember that. Password. Okay, Microsoft. You win. Okay. Now look at this. I'm trying to set up an Office 365 trial account and I'm asked to put in a Microsoft email address. And I go, send me promotional emails from Microsoft. I untick that and I go, I want a new email address. David 1234567 and next. They've changed the whole process. David next. Come on. So I mean, because this is like part of the things that do confuse people is, you want to start an organization one. How do you do? Okay. Now it's taking me to this page where I have to fill in my payment information, and I'll just drag this off the screen to just fill in some method. Um, mm, I'm just filling in my address, and I need to go get my phone number now. Oh. Mail, just get my phone number, get my address, get everything ready, compose. So we can go with that phone number. Okay. Okay. Country, my postcode, and okay, payment information. So I've entered the payment information, and it's taking me to sign into my PayPal. Let's go. Okay, where can I go to the next one? Come on. So it's just still taking me to my payment information. So once we've passed that stage, then I will come ahead and then we'll go on. So still going to. Oh no, 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 no. You know what it's trying to do? Let me show you what it's trying to do. It's trying to get me to pay for Office 365 Home. No, thank you. I don't want Office 365 Home. That's not what I want. Uh, okay. I want uh Office 365 trial. Let's get a proper one. Um, where are you? Office 365. Let me say the subscription name E3 trial. That's probably better. Office 365 E3 trial. Let's go here. Okay, here we go. Eventually, I don't want to buy, I just want a free trial. Okay, here we go. So this is the process of setting up an Office 365 trial. I go set up my name. Now, my business email address. So let's say my business email address is david@davidcompany.com. My business phone number 01111, whatever.
Is this trial for organization or personal?
So this will work for an organization. So the process is a bit different for Office 365 because for Office 365 now, it's not asking me for a Microsoft account. It's asking me for my business email. So which is good.
Yeah.
So if I go 07, okay, yeah, company's name, David's company. What I want to show you is like, because the thing we're driving out is we're driving towards Azure Active Directory. So look at that. Now, look at that. Office 365 trial when I went here, it's taking me through the proper one for an organization. Because you see, instantly here is enter your username. So it asks me to enter my business name, right? So enter admin name, enter uh, admin corporate email address. So that's really important because again, remember, this is where all the notifications will go to. That's very important. So because for the Azure one, it's still telling you, hey, give me your Microsoft account. But this one is just telling me, hey, just enter your corporate email address, your corporate name, enter your admin name, say, and it says, what's your company name? Now, the reason why I'm showing you this is look at the similarity between this one and if I go the organization method for creating Azure. Because if I go the organization method, look at that. I enter my corporate email address, I enter my company name, and instantly it's creating an Azure Active Directory with the name daviscompany.onmicrosoft.com. But in this case, it's even asking me to specify what I want that Azure Active Directory to be, so I can specify that. Whereas if I go the normal Azure route of going this one, again, I think I have a different subscription that I can even use to show you more clearer. Because what it's going to actually do is it's going to take my let me get my new cloud create. So what's actually going to do is it's going to create an Azure AD domain from my email address, from my Microsoft account email address, and that's what it's going to do. So that's very important. So just to show you an illustration, um, let me try to log in as so actually I've not signed into this one. I need a different browser though. Let me bring up a different browser. 1 minute. Because I want this to be clear. Let's bring up a different browser and I'll sign out of this one and I'll sign in. Sign out. Yep. Signing out of this one now. Close. So let's go back to outlook.com. So I can probably just show you from um, so look at my Azure, look at my Microsoft account email address. So it's this one. So that's my Azure, sorry, that's my Microsoft email address when I open the Azure account. So then let's go under the Azure account, https manage.windowsazure.com, https manage.windowsazure.com, and it should take me here. So I enter my email address, which is the same one here. I'll just copy and paste in here and go continue. And it's logging me in because what I want to show you is what it has created. Once I go the normal Azure route, not going the organizational route, I want to show you what it's created as my Azure Active Directory domain name. So again, remember that now my Microsoft account is linked to this domain. So default directory. Look at that. Can you see that? Your directory comes with the default domain of this one. So let's put this side by side. So that's my Azure Active Directory domain name that is created. Let's put it side by side. And let me expand on this one. Can anyone tell me if there's a similarity between this one and this one? Can you see what it has done? What it has done is it has taken my Microsoft account name with Outlook and just used it to create my Azure AD domain name. So now in this case, if I'm using the Microsoft account in the Azure one, I'm not the one that has a choice as to what it's using to create my Microsoft account, what it's using to create my Azure Active Directory domain name. And the thing is, I'm stuck with this email because all the notifications for the account will be going to this email. Whereas the proper way is to use a business name and a business email account and have a business domain name used to create it. So again, let's go down here to this list. So corporate email address, so enter the admin corporate email address for the Office 3651, and then you can specify the Azure AD domain name. Specify Azure AD domain name. For Azure services, it's a bit different. If you go the normal route, so enter Microsoft account, and it's going to auto create Azure AD domain name from your Microsoft account. Okay, so we won't go into Intune, but at least this one will give you the idea of what we're talking about. So where does all this link? Is that if you create an Office 365 subscription, before you create an Azure services, this is the main point. There is no need to go the normal route. What do I mean by that? Here's what I mean. So I've created an Office 365. Remember that I've entered my admin name, my corporate email address, and I've specified I've specified my Azure AD domain name. And instantly what it's going to do is going to create an account in my Azure AD domain. So remember why I said, because I know that this may look, so remember why I said that this may not be all too clear at once. Just remember that. It's going to create an account in my Azure AD domain. And that is what you're seeing here, where now it's like specify your Azure AD domain name. I specify davidcompany.onmicrosoft.com. Talk about that later. But then I've entered my username and it's telling me I'm going to create David Company already taken. Okay, let's use David Company. How about that? David's company is already taken. David's company 123. Is that still taken? Yeah, David's company 123. Okay. So David's company 123.microsoft.com is going to create an account for me under this Azure AD domain. So what I can now do is that this account becomes the global administrator of this Office 365 subscription. But the good thing is that I can now use this account, yeah, for my Azure trial. So for example, if I go back to here and I search for Azure trial and I click on here and go try it now. So this is going via the normal route again, and you see an option here. So this is going via the normal route, not going via the organization route. So via the normal route, because I already logged in, is it gonna just sign me in? Because what I want to show you is there's an option that was sitting on the left hand side here that I did not point out originally. If this doesn't take me in directly, I can use that option. Because what you find out is on the left hand side here, there will be an option that says sign in with an organization account. This one is just sign me in with my Outlook account, which I need to sign out from. So again, just be careful because look at this. Now it's linking my Outlook account with my Azure account. So I don't want that as an organization. So you have to be careful with that. I go. Gonna sign me in automatically this time. Yeah, look at this. So now I've come. So I can enter my Microsoft account, or if I have a previous Office 365 or previous Intune subscription, I can use my Azure AD credentials to sign in here. So let's say I've already completed this sign up. It's already created this one for me, right? I've already created the password and created my Office 365 subscription. I'm not sure if this will allow me, but let's say test. Let's just um, let's just go next. Prove you're not a robot. Okay, let's enter my email. I'm sorry, my phone number, and I'll get a text message. So this is probably the 20th one that I'm doing already. Done lots of this stuff. That was one of the ways I figured it out, was just by trying them over and over again to understand what's going on. 705201. Create my account. Save this information for later. Now look at that. It created this Azure AD domain name and it says save this information for later. Okay, I'll show you how that ties in with your entire Azure subscription if you already have a previous Office 365 subscription, because it's going to create this, and you know what it's doing in the background is it's creating an Azure AD domain. And what that means in this situation, okay, it says, hey, you're ready to go. I click on that. Now I'm ready to go. But what I can now do is when I go for the normal Azure trial sign up, yeah, I'm ready to go. Why am I not going? When I go to use this normal Azure sign up, instead of using my Microsoft account here, I can click sign in with organization account. And I can now select, I can go use another account. I can now type in my Office 365 Azure AD account that I have here. So it's still creating it, I guess. So yeah, it's still creating. So eventually what I will be able to do is I'll be able to sign in with this account here for my Azure subscription, for my Azure trial. I'm not sure. Any questions regarding that at all? Any questions at all? Syed, Louis, any questions?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So, cause here's the thing is that whenever you create this, it's going to create an Azure AD domain. Whenever you create this one also, it's going to create an Azure AD domain. And whenever you create an Intune subscription, it's going to create an Azure AD domain. And the reason for this is your Office 365, you have to be managing your users. So where is it going to store the information about the users? It's going to store them in the Azure AD domain. So if you already have an Azure AD domain here, where it's going to store your users for Office 365, there's no need to create a separate Azure AD domain for separate users with your Azure services or for your Intune subscription. What you can use is you can have what we drew here and have the same Azure AD domain across all your different Microsoft services. That is, including your Office 365 subscription and your Azure services and your Intune subscription or any other Microsoft services that you're using, by the way. But the key thing is to get this Azure Active Directory stuff right. Because what you can do is once you create this one, it creates an Azure Active Directory in the background. And when you want to create your Azure services, you don't have to go specify a different account. Just use the Azure Active Directory credentials that you have in Office 365 or you have from your Intune subscription to sign up for this. And by doing that, you're linking them together. So that way you can manage your users from one portal and it's going to be the same across. So you don't have to manage a different user here, a different user here, or different user here. It's going to be the same all across. Any questions regarding that at all?
No, actually, what you meant to say is there's one Azure AD, single Azure AD that's being created when we are creating a trial tenant on
Right?
Office 365,
hmm
and that same AD is integrated with Azure services and Intune subscription.
So it's not something that is automatic. You have to integrate it.
Yes,
So
via that enterprise admin, whatever, global admin
yes. So now,
account.
because now I've created this Office 365 subscription, right? It created
Yeah.
it created this. Let's go down here. It's created this Azure AD for me, right? David's company 123, right? So I should not now make the mistake. So I have this of this Azure AD domain that it created for me in Office 365, right? With this user already in it. I should not now make the mistake of now going to sign up with Azure AD with something completely separate. Because all I'm going to do is I'm going to end up with two separate Azure AD directories. And now I have to manage two separate directories. There's nothing wrong with that, but then that's like more management. But what you can do is once you've signed up for one of these, for example, again, if I go here and I go Azure trial and I click on Azure trial, because I'm signed into this one already, and I go Azure trial here, the normal route now, I'm not even going via the organization route. So the normal route now, and you see, yeah, look at that. So now it's trying to sign me up for my Azure trial with my Office 365 Azure AD. I'm not sure if can you see that? David's company 123.onmicrosoft.com. And
Yeah,
what
yeah.
I can now do is I can sign up with this one now, and I'll be able to manage all my users and subscriptions and all that from this single portal. That is, any user that I had into this directory inside here will show up in Office 365. So and will show up in Intune because all the underlying Azure Active Directory are the same. But the mistake that many could make is they go separately to sign up for Azure AD, right? Like bringing this one up, they go separately set up Office 365. It creates an Azure um, AD domain for them, right? Then they sign out of that. Then they go and set up Azure services. Then it asks them put in your Microsoft account. And most people just go Microsoft account in. After they put Microsoft account in, it's going to automatically create an Azure AD domain um, using their Microsoft account name, which is the one that I showed to you before for mine, where it's just created this Azure AD domain for my Microsoft account name. And they do the same thing with Intune. And what they end up is they end up with three disjointed Azure AD directories, where all they need to do is once you sign up for one service, use that same Azure AD domain all across. And what I'm saying is that if you want to sign up for Azure services first, don't use the normal route, use the organization route so that you can specify your Azure AD domain by yourself. Otherwise, it will auto create with you with a Microsoft account and they're all linked together. If you're going to start with Office 365, you can use the normal route and then use the account that it's created for you in Office 365 to sign up for Azure services and for Intune. Is that clear, Saed? Or is that confusing? Is that clear?
It's clear, I guess.
You will not get. I understand that you may not get it all at once, but eventually, yeah, Abdul says it's clear. So you know, because you may not. Again, remember, you may not get it all at once, but again, just go over it in your head. watch Pluralsight videos, watch CBT Nugget videos, read some other articles. Then all of a sudden, the things I'm saying, they'll begin to make sense little by little.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
It's not something that could get absorbed on the day one.
Yeah. For most people, yeah. Okay. What about Louis? You have any questions? Is that clear at all? Is it something that you need to look into a bit more? Is it clear? I assume that is a no. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll pause here for today because I think at least we've laid some good foundation around um, Azure Active Directory and how to manage your subscriptions properly without facing future problems. Again, just to recap, remember, if you're signing up for Office 365, you can go the normal route. So when you go the normal route, it will take you through the normal organizational route. Fine. But then once you have that one subscription, because it's the same cloud service provider, it's the same Microsoft. When you want to sign up for your Azure services, there's no need to go start from scratch. Just use your
Mm.
Office 365 Azure AD domain with that account to sign up for your Azure services and for your Intune subscription. And by that way, you're linking those Azure Active Directory services together. So you don't have to have separate ones all across. You're having one all across. If you're starting with Azure services, don't and you're an organization, don't go the normal user route. Go the organization route. That will create what Office 365 will create for you, which is basically will create an organization Azure Active Directory domain. And then when you go to sign up for Office 365, use that organizational account with the Azure Active Directory domain to sign up for Office 365 and to sign up for Intune. That way you're linking them together.
Yes.
But
So
that's,
basically, the
yeah.
bottom line is when we create a organizational account for Office 365,
Hmm.
we get the email address or whatever you would say,
Hmm.
the that we will be going to use in Microsoft Azure
Exactly.
account when we are creating it,
Exactly.
and the same account would carry an Intune account,
Exactly. That's exactly what
so
we're
the
saying.
identity would remain the same.
Exactly. So that now the domain will be across. So now all you now need to do is you want to create a new user. You can go under your Azure account, under the Azure Active Directory account, and you can just create a new user here, and the user will show up in Intune and Office 365 because it's the same Azure Active Directory. But if you use a Microsoft account to sign up for this one, here's a mistake that people make. You use a Microsoft account to sign up for your Microsoft Azure, right? Remember that what the domain name is going to use that is going to use to create the Microsoft Azure AD could be something completely different. Will be this one. Now, when they go to
Mm.
sign up for Office 365, they use something completely different, which is their company name. And then they're like, how come? I create a user in Azure. I can't see the user in Office 365. I create a user in Office 365. I can't see the user in Azure. How come I have this disjointed subscription? It's because of the way it was set up originally. So pick whichever one you've started with. If you started with Office 365, fine. Just use that Office 365 Azure AD domain, this one that you've already created. Just use that to sign up for your Microsoft Azure, and then you have the same Azure Active Directory. Okay, so
Mm.
we'll pick up from here next week. So we're beginning to get into much more interesting things. So subscription now. So next week we'll go a bit more. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to do some really good demos for next week. So thanks very much again. And then if there are no
Mm.
questions, then we'll see next week then.
I would like to
Thank
ask
you.
something.
Yes, please carry on. Carry on, sir.
Uh, I would like to ask something. I think Microsoft Azure AD subscription is not free, I guess.
It is. So there's a free version. So there are three
Once
versions.
I created a trial tenant,
Mm-hmm,
a trial tenant,
mm-hmm.
and I tried to access the Azure AD, but it was saying something for I guess something about subscription. I don't remember exactly.
Yeah. So there are three editions of Microsoft Azure AD. So there is a free edition, there is a basic edition, there's something called Azure AD Premium. So what you want to do originally if you're an organization is you want Azure AD Premium because you get more features. Things like password self-service. So if you go Azure AD
Self
editions,
password reset service.
yeah, so there's a lot of features that you get.
Hmm.
So Azure AD edition. So yeah, so I'm sure that there's three different
So we will
editions.
be going to discussing this in our next session.
Yeah, will be. So like you can see here, you
Oh.
have Azure AD, you have free, basic, premium. So you have common features in free, basic features in basic, premium has all the features. So common features, you can create a user account, you can use single sign-on, you can connect it to your on-prem Active Directory, you can get some simple security and usage reports, but you cannot create groups. Basic, you can create groups, you can create self-service password reset. So people can use, you can customize it with your branding. You can use the web application proxy for on-premises applications, and then you get SLA for this. Premium, you even have more features. So you get free license for MIM, Microsoft Identity Manager. You have self-service for groups and app management. You have multi-factor authentication. So if you need multi-factor authentication, you need Azure AD Premium. So definitely you're going to have to pay for
Hmm.
it. What most organizations do is they just go for something called the Enterprise Mobility Suite, which is one other thing that I'm planning that eventually, sometime later in the whole
EMS.
series, we'll talk about. Yeah, EMS, exactly. So because EMS gives you Azure AD Premium, Azure RMS, and Intune for a very cheap price. So
Hmm. So Intune is part of EMS.
yes, it is. So what I currently have in this my test environment is I have EMS. So it's giving me Intune and all that. So you can see you get Azure AD Premium, Intune, Azure RMS, Microsoft Advanced Threat Analytics for just 875 per month. So
Hmm.
rather than if you go
So we get
separately,
premium Azure AD from
yes,
this
yes,
subscription.
exactly. Yeah. And that's very cheap. And actually, you know what? If you are an organization that already have Microsoft Enterprise Agreement, it's even cheaper for you
Hmm.
because what will happen is you can get, I think you can even get down up to something like $1 something if you
Oh,
have
great.
enterprise agreement with Microsoft already. Because if you think about it, why do you need? Because if you have enterprise agreement, your SCCM client access license are free. So why need to go pay
Yeah.
for a whole Intune when this one is when you have SCCM client access license that's free, and you can't manage a device by both SCCM and Intune. You have to use one. So basically, you can get this
Yeah,
done for
I guess
even.
SCCM is better
No, it
because
depends.
we get more control over.
No, it depends. It absolutely depends. Absolutely depends. So I won't say SCCM is, for example, there are some features you get in Intune that you don't get in SCCM. hmm Features like, can you wipe a device remotely with SCCM? So if a
I
user
guess
comes and
so.
says, no, you can't. If a user comes and maybe you can write a script and deploy a script, but from the
Really?
console, yeah. But from the console of SCCM, if a user comes and says, I lost my device, you can't just go right click wipe. You can do that
Remote
on,
wipe.
yeah, you can do that on
Yeah.
Intune. You can probably write a script and deploy a script to the machine or something and then wipe it that way. But with Intune, you just right click wipe and you can wipe the device because Intune manages the device as a mobile device because it's MDM, Mobile Device Management Framework. So it manages it as, so there are advantages to which end. So one of the advantages that you get with SCCM is that SCCM can manage several operating systems. With Intune, you can only manage client operating systems like Windows 10, Windows 8.1, Windows 8. You can't manage Server 2012, Auto, and stuff like that. So there's pros and
Hmm.
cons to which, so on both sides, there's pros and cons. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
totally agree.
yeah. Okay then, so we'll see you again next week. Have a wonderful evening. See you later. Bye guys.
Bye.
Bye.